All right, we're not one for moral victories here on Mountaineer Moment, but West Virginia did come up just short against Arizona State, and I think that gives us a reason to believe that there is hope on the horizon. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody, to episode number 88 of Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. This one covering Arizona State recap after the game. It's actually Sunday afternoon. I had a wedding to go to yesterday. My brother-in-law got married, so we didn't get the recap of that one last night. But we're putting it out today, Sunday. So not an immediate reaction, but as close as we can get to it here on Mountaineer Moment. Again, episode number 88. On YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you're listening or watching. I want to direct you to that subscribe button so that you can be in the know and we have new content coming your way, and to get more West Virginians in the know to help us in the algorithm get on people's pages in this new show that we have that started at the beginning of the football season. And we're already 88 episodes in, as I said, so we're rolling right along. And this one, again, covering the Mountaineers' narrow defeat. Took a last-minute lead after being down 22-10 at half against Arizona State. They lose that one 25-23 due to an Arizona State field goal with 2.5 or so to play in the game. So a wild game, lots to get into. There's several takeaways, reasons for the loss and things that you saw, that you liked, that you didn't like, that we're going to get into. We'll talk about the box score and break that down. And again, at the end of this thing, we're gonna tell you why, even though you lost the game, you went on the road as a double-digit underdog against Arizona State and narrowly pulled it out. And this is a team that's, even with that loss, you're trending in the right direction as you close an end to this season and tie a bow on it. And I think there's hope on the horizon for next season. And there were certain points, obviously, during this season that you might not have thought that was possible this season. So pretty encouraging overall over the last few weeks for these Mountaineers, and excited for what's to come. And that's about all that you can ask for, or as much as you can ask for after the start to the season that this team had, with their 0-5 start to Big 12 play, now sitting at 2-6 after winning 2 in a row against Houston and Colorado, and then fall to Arizona State. So we'll take a look first at the box score. So, again, Mountaineers fall short 25-23. Arizona State took a 22-10 lead into half, and then West Virginia defense really stepped up. The only points that Arizona State got, obviously, were that game-winning go-ahead field goal late in the fourth quarter. West Virginia really stepped it up and gave their offense a chance, kept fighting. That's probably the first thing, even before we get to the box score. That's the first thing. This team just kept fighting. It reminds you of Rich Rod's quote after the backyard brawl. Mountaineers never quit, and there was no quit in them in this game. Really encouraging to see, because there were certainly moments in this one where you're like, oh boy, it's about to get away. Arizona State got off to a slow start. Mountaineers jumped out to a lead, and then Arizona State started clicking. They started going, and they started scoring early and often, right? And had 22 points in that second quarter after their slow start, but there could have been a moment there where you're like, this team might fold and we might get blown out of the stadium. And that didn't happen, and you nearly won. You really did, right? You're a stop away. Who knows, right? If you don't, they made a 40-something yard field goal after you blocked one earlier. With 2:44 to go. It was a 49-yard field goal after the previous one was blocked. And so, he misses that. You block it, whatever. You're taking over with the ball with a 1-point lead, and there's 2.5 minutes to go. You got to run out the clock and maybe get a win. So, it was close. It just was that close. And you just have to appreciate the fight from this team, the coaching staff, the game plan, all of those things. Although some people I saw not too happy with some of the play calls on offense, and we'll get into that too. But overall, the team fought. The team showed grit and toughness, even for a team that, again, entered this game 4-6. And 2-5 in the conference. You weren't exactly super. I mean, you're coming off of 2 wins, but not a whole lot left to play for other than you were playing for bowl eligibility, which means something. Doesn't mean as much as it used to be, many years ago. Obviously, it just doesn't. However you want to shake that out, like it just doesn't mean what it used to be going to a bowl game. But you had that to play for, and that's really it. And so when you get down double digits and they kept fighting and came back and took the lead, that's super encouraging thing to see. But we'll take a look at this box score and mention some of the key things that we had coming into the game that turned out here in this one. Scotty Fox obviously had to do a lot through the air. Running game wasn't working. 39 carries for the team, 68 yards on the ground, led by Sincere Bowers, 13 carries, 42 yards. Curtis Jones, we mentioned him. How many carries would he get? I think I put the line at like 4.5 in that fun over-unders episode that we did. He had 7 carries, 12 yards, and a touchdown. Again, showed to be a really, really, really tough runner, and did decently well with the carries that he got in short yardage situations. But the lack of the running game for the Mountaineers led to Scotty Fox Jr. having to throw it, and having to throw it to keep him in it. 19 of 31 for him, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, on that Mountaineers' final drive on that 4th down. So, a turnover as much as it is a turnover on downs, really. 19 of 31, 353, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. High man on the day for receivers, Jeff Weimer, 3 catches, 90 yards. So, I'll tell you what, West Virginia's offense and even those stats of Scotty Fox were supported by a couple big plays. Weimer caught a 75-yard touchdown, and then Sincere Bowers, that play to give West Virginia the lead in the 4th quarter. Nothing's going well. Nothing's working right on that drive. You're down, a touchdown, and you can take the lead. And, you get to a situation in the game in the 4th quarter, and I'm just trying to pull it up real quick. And it's 3rd and 27. Just want to get the exact number. It's 3rd and 27. 6.5 minutes to go. Touchdown takes the lead. And it's 3rd and 27 at your own 10. So they run a little screen pass, right? Sincere Bowers, maybe just give a little field position to help you kick the ball back and try and get a stop and try and get the ball back in better field position. And what does Sincere Bowers do? He takes it to the house, 90 yards. 90-yard house call on 3rd and 27 from the 10. A 90-yard, catch and run for Sincere Bowers. And so that was a 90-yarder. Jeff Weimer had a 75-yarder. And so, there's the bulk of Scotty Fox's yards right there, supported by those two things. I don't think Scotty played particularly well. I don't think he played particularly bad either. He had his struggles. He's a true freshman on the road against a team that made it to the CFP last year. Different team, yes, but same school, right? Who's now sitting at 7-3 and 5-2 in the Big 12. Not a slouch by any means, even with Jeff Sims in at quarterback, who we're going to get to in a moment. But Scotty had some issues. But he continues. Overall, he's making strides, man. He's making improvements as a freshman. He's getting familiar with this is the way this thing runs, and this is what it's like to be a QB at this level and start multiple weeks in a row. We haven't seen that. This is the first time in all season where this stretch of Scotty Fox starts has been okay, we expect Scotty Fox to start and play the whole game. Prior to that, it was anybody's name could be called at any moment. And it feels nice to have the consistency, and I think the team is rallying around that. Again, I mentioned their grit and toughness and will to keep this a game. They rallied around Scotty, and they're continuing to do that. Cam Vaughn had himself a decent day too on a 42. He had a 42-yard grab as well, not for a touchdown, but a 42-yard grab, 3 catches, 79 yards for him. Jared Bowie had a few nice catches, 4 catches, 34 yards. For him. Grayson Barnes, 3 of 26, and Rodney Gallagher, 1 for 19 on the day. West Virginia's defense wasn't able to, especially obviously in that first half, get to the passer. Jeff Sims had 3 passing touchdowns in that first half. He finished the day 19 for 28, 207, and 3 touchdowns. And that was one of our keys is make Jeff Sims beat you through the air. And I guess you can make the argument that he did just that. All 3 of their touchdowns came via Jeff Sims passes. Sims was also the leading rusher for them. Again, he came off a career day, a school record day, 220-plus yards on the ground in their previous game. And he had 17 carries for 81 yards in this one. Raleek Brown, 14 carries, 53 yards for them as well. But, yeah, I guess it is safe to say that you said, all right, Jeff Sims, come and beat us through the air. And he did just that. He just did. And the first half, what they put up was just enough to be able to do that, to go along with that field goal with under 3 minutes to play. But, that's just a quick kind of glance. He gave up 3 sacks to Arizona State. They had 6 TFLs, West Virginia 6 TFLs and 1 sack. Obviously, Arizona State with a pick, to end the game. And, those are a couple of the significant numbers that we see in this 25-23 loss for the Mountaineers. And, as you analyze this more, and you mentioned, just some takeaways and some things. Well, takeaway number 1 is, you said Jeff Sims come beat us, and he did. Give him credit, I guess, where credit's due, right? 3 touchdowns through the air for a guy that you were hoping to limit what he could do in the run. He didn't rush for 100 yards, which is good considering what he had done the previous week or previous game that they had. So that's takeaway number 1 is you told him to come beat us, and he did. Give him props, tip your cap and move on. Takeaway number 2 is just, again, and this might be the last one, really, just in relation to this team and their fight. You got down, and then you had a lead in the fourth quarter against a team that's better than you, record-wise, better than you maybe personnel-wise right now, and you were in this game. You were competitive. And again, I mentioned that, intro, like moral victories and this and that, like not really one for that here on Mountaineer Moment, but there's something there. There's something there to this team, what they've been doing lately that's encouraging as you head into your last game of the season. You're going to host Texas Tech, so we'll see how encouraged we are after that game. But hopefully they come out and fight, and hopefully they come out and fight. But, I think overall, again, Sims hurt you. Your lack of running game, right? That's a key takeaway. You couldn't run the football, and that hurt you a lot. You relied on big plays, which we're happy, obviously, to see some explosives because I think, Jeff Weimer's touchdown, 75 yards, was the longest, and then not for long because Sincere Bowers took 190 yards. So explosive plays kept you in this game, allowed you to have a chance in the end. But you obviously relied on those because, again, you take away those 2 plays, and there wasn't a whole lot going for you offensively in this one. First couple drives were good and encouraging, but aside from that and aside from these explosives, these long plays for touchdowns, wasn't a whole lot working. Wasn't a whole lot that you were doing on the offensive end. Now, it offense overall looked better than it did, obviously, against Kansas and Utah, and UCF, games like that where it was just really, really, really hard to watch. But the lack of a run game probably cost you this game. If you are able to pick up a few more first downs on the ground, if you're able to relieve Scotty Fox a little bit, if you're able to, punch it in a few more times near the red zone, right? Settled for field goals, in this one, or the 129-yard field goal from Hensley, which just, drives that stalled. You went for it on 4th down when you could have kicked the field goal too. So just some things there. Monday morning quarterbacking, Sunday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it. But there's some things there that are the reasons you lost this game. You didn't play perfect, and you kept it competitive. And that'll lead us to this last thing. And I really do mean this. And I see beyond this next coming Saturday against Texas Tech, however that thing shakes out. Obviously, we want to win. That would be amazing and lead you into the next season on a really, really high note. But I think regardless of the outcome in that game, there's hope on the horizon. There's a great reason for optimism, and I think that's so encouraging considering where you've been, considering how this season started, considering how Big 12 play started. Mentioned some of those horrendous games. This game, obviously, you win the game against Houston, offensive, just showing on the ground, and we're able to get the job done, force turnovers and all that. You win a game against Colorado at home, which wasn't the toughest of tests, right? You were favored in that game. They're struggling even more than you are, at least, coming into that matchup. And then you get another test against Arizona State, and you're not expected to win. You're a double-digit underdog, and you had the lead on them. Took a 90-yard touchdown for the lead with 3 minutes, or with 6 minutes left or so. And then Arizona State responded, kicked a long field goal, made it, and you just weren't able to go down and punch it in. That's just the reality of it. Or get in field goal range, right? Turnover on downs with that pick on 4th and 4. Around midfield, and just couldn't get the job done. Tip your cap, move on. But there's reason for optimism. There's a belief that there's hope on the horizon because, a lot of these names are sticking around, and you hope so. You never know in the era of the transfer portal, but then Jaheim White, hopefully he sticks around, and he's back next year and ready to roll, who we lost early in the season. There's offensive line's playing better. There's, obviously we know what Mountaineers are doing in recruiting, and there's reason for encouragement. There's reason to believe that the players that are currently here have finally, finally figuring things out and have bought into the culture and all of these things that Rich Rod is setting. And the good news is, regardless of what this transfer portal looks like and the, era of recruiting this coming, next season, I can guarantee you're not going to have 81 new players like you did this season. And so if you have 40 new players or 30 new players or whatever that number is going to be when all is said and done, coming next fall camp, the reality is you're going to have a core that already get it. You're going to have a core that are bought in. You're going to have a core that, okay, what Rich Rod says works, or they understand what's expected of them. They understand 2 + 2 = 4. You do this, you do that, and you get these results. And we're getting better results. And the personnel hasn't really changed. We've made a change at quarterback, partly due to just out of necessity because of injuries and all of that. You've lost Jaheim White long time ago. You're playing a bandit linebacker at running back sometimes. You got 7 carries. You're figuring things out, but we didn't. The portal wasn't open from, the end of the UCF game where you were at rock bottom, to then you beat Houston, you beat Colorado, and you hang with Arizona State, nearly beating them. Nothing personnel-wise on a broad scale, maybe some tweaks here and there, changed, though, through that time. There's no transfer portal window between week 6 and week 8 of college football. There's just not. So you figured some things out, and that's encouraging to see. So I think there is hope on the horizon. I think there should be a great optimism in Morgantown. I mean, look at the support we even had, in that home game against Colorado with a great turnout. And I'm expecting a great turnout when Texas Tech comes to town, and that's going to be a challenge. We know it. But let's see where we're at. In a lot of ways you can use that as a measuring stick to say, okay, well, Arizona State's not, that good this year, but they're good. Houston, they were predicted to not be that good, but they've, had a good year and you beat them. Colorado has struggled all year. You beat them. Where are you at against an elite team like Texas Tech? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. And we might not like the product that we see. We might like the product that we see. But I think regardless of that, there's hope for the future. And a few weeks ago, you might not have said that. So that's encouraging about this Mountaineer football team as you get ready for one last game before the offseason begins, and we're gearing up for another season. It's crazy to believe that we're already here, but we are. Mountaineers fall to 4-7, 2-6 overall, 25-23 loss on the road at Arizona State in a narrow loss. And we will see you next time on Mountaineer Moment. This has been episode number 88. Again, thanks for being here. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again on Mountaineer Moment.